Ago.
Welcome to another episode of your On-Air series here on the Heritage Month this March. Today we're focusing on the Eastern region and we're picking a couple of the groups in the region to discuss their history and also look at some places of historical significance. My guest is Akwamu, who I call a polymath. Originally a journalist by training, but he's also a lawyer. He also writes and is doing very important research in various aspects of our history. Thanks for joining us on the series.
Thank you.
We're talking about the Eastern region today, and I just wanted you to first start off by giving me a quick overview of the main groups there before we get into specific issues.
So first and foremost, I'm a law student.
You're a law student?
I completed LLB. I've not gone to the bar.
So you're not going to the bar yet?
Yes, so someday, when I finish the PhD, very soon.
Then you can be called, I get it, all right.
Yeah.
Eastern region is very interesting for me. It's one of the most diverse regions in terms of physically seeing, but even in terms of people groups as well. They are quite significant historical groups and also groups there now that are worthy of note, are they not?
Yeah, they are. So, as you said, it is a multi-ethnic crucible. So we do have the Achim, and the Achim, we have the three Achim, the Buakwa, we have the Bosomi, and then we have the Kotoku. That make the Achimansa, the three Achim groups. And then we also have the Damwe group in the eastern region. So you have the Maya Krobo, and then you have the Yilo Krobo, which are also there. Then you also have the Akwamu, which comprises the Hiliguans and then the Akan migrants in that area. Then you also have Kou in that area. So those are the...
So we have the Achims, who are the Bosomi, Kotoku, and Buakwa. Then we have the Dangbes, Yilo and Manya Krobo, upper and lower. Kwapims are the Hiliguans, and then the Akan migrants, and then we have the Kwewu. So these are the four. The four
in fact, there's another ethnic group which is also a Guan in the Kwewu area. In fact, their language is on extension. I remember the name, but they are still within the Afram Prince there.
But what about the Guans? I know that the Hiliguans are a significant part, but I thought that getting closer to the Akosombo areas, there are other groups in the Eastern region as well.
Yes, there are Akwamu.
So the Akwamu is also there?
Yes, the Akwamus are there.
I see. Yes, yeah. So the Akwamus are distinct from these four you've described?
They are all different. They are distinctive account groups.
So talk to me about the Akwamu. Who are they? Because in what we read in history was that they were very fierce, they were warlike, and for a while, they were so powerful that different groups had to come to fight them because they were almost undefeatable in war.
Yeah.
Is this correct?
Yeah, so that's very true. So the Akwamu by 1630s, 1640s, up to a whole lot of, up to by 1730, they were the most powerful group among the Akan group. Okay, and their power emerged immediately after the Dentra. Why the Dentra? Prior, before even the Dentra. So they move hand in hand with the Dentra. So even the Dentra fell along the line, and Akwamu were still standing. So who are these people? One may ask, where do they come from to be there? So these Akwamu people are part of the Ediana Chia Abrede group. The Ediana Chia Abrede group. So the Ediana and Nchia, you see all of them, their symbol is dog. Their symbol. So you see on their staff a dog sometimes with a bone in the mouth or a dog with fire. Because they believe that they brought fire to the world, inventors of fire. So when you meet them, a Diana person, then you spot Ujaba, that's the child of fire. That's who they are. So they say Ediana Chia Abrede, Aprenchenia Omensio, because they brought water and then as well as fire. That's why they call them Ediana Chia Aprenchenia Omensio. So this group of people, as Akan's migration is well known, also came from the northern corridors and then they passed through and then entered the enclaves of Pearl River Basin. When they came to the Pearl River Basin, there were autochthonous groups there. I mean, the original or aboriginal settlers that were there. They were Eti autochthons. So when they came to the area, these were the people who are now at Asini Kushia. Okay? They were there. They were used to call them Orenchi. They were on the land called Asasetre. Asasetre was then between Hemai and then getting to Mokwa. So the other aboriginal group there were Chufu, Eti Mokwa, then Heman. Okay? They were there, and then in Inahem, they were also there in that area. So what happened was that when the Adriana Abrede came there, they were led by their leader called Nana Ajan Kokobu. So Ajan Kokobu came to settle there with another group, the Chefu people, also came with their leader called Nana Mfatie Amwa. He also came to the area. Mm-hmm. So Mfatie Amwa and his Chefu were there before the Adriana group came there to settle. So this Adriana group lived there for a very long time, even signed some contracts with the Portuguese back in the day for trade. And then dynastic conflict arose during the time of Nana Owusubari and then Nana Otumofo Asari. He was a blacksmith, so he's called Otumofo Asari. As a result of this dynastic conflict, Nana Asari carved a drum and said, Mirun Somu, it means I will not worship you again. And then he left the territory. And other groups from Nana Otomofo's group also moved straight to the eastern corridor, so the western corridors. So they went to Hafasini, they are in La Côte d'Ivoire. They up to the north of La Côte d'Ivoire. So when they went, the Adriana group that when they went to settle there, and then Nana Otomofo Asari and his group moved all the way to the eastern region. According to other historians, they are saying when they are on their way, moving through the central region, the Fantis saw the long trek of people, and they say, so they became Akwamu, people on the road that have a long line of people.
That's an interesting point, because I've heard other people say the reason they are called Akwamu is because in the time that they were powerful, they were slave raiders, and they were waiting in the road to capture migrant groups into Akwamu.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you know of that theory of that.
So that is in fact, the original version. If you go back to the work done by Roma, okay, in 1605, he goes on to talk about the fact that when he interviewed Seseku back in the day, that was the name because all the other Akanu group. And that was what the Akwamus were doing. They were very powerful. So they lie in wait on the paths and then they capture other neighboring groups. And that is one of the main reasons why all the Akari groups came together in 1730 to fight them. So that, I think, even is the true meaning of their name as opposed to this current revisionist interpretation of the name as people who were on that long trajectory of migration.
But be that as it may, let's continue the story. So these Ediana people, Chifo Himan area, some moved to Hafasini, some moved to Côte d'Ivoire, but the core group moved into the eastern region.
Yeah, the group led by Nana Otomofo Asari. So they moved to eastern regional corridors, getting close to the Achams, and then they created their town called Asariman, which has now been corrupted to Isaman Kesi. So it was Asariman Kesi, Nana Asari's big town, and now it's called Isaman Kesi. So while they were there, they moved. There were incursions, and they moved toward the Yanao Hill, which became Yanawase. They were, in fact, living down below the Yanao Hills. So that's where they were, and they created their pre-colonial kingdom of Akwamu.
So they moved down, got to Chifo area, some split and went west, some moved east to Asariman Kesi, which became Asiman Kesi, and then came down through to Yanao Hill, which is where they were now settling. So at the height of Akwamu power, we can say they were living within the Yanao Hill area.
Yeah. And it was there that they became so powerful. And so they started engaging in expansionism. So in the expansionism, they were able to move to the northern Volta region and conquer Crepi as their vassal state. They also went to the Angono area. and they were able to capture some part of the Anglon
When
territory.
you say Krepi includes the area that is now known as Peki.
Peki, yes, and Hawkeye areas.
Anumboso, Peki. So that whole area, the Akwamus were able to conquer.
They were able to go under Toby Kukudei, so he was serving him. And then they moved also to Aguna. They were able to conquer the Aguna people in central region.
Not in central.
The Aguna Swedru areas. Okay. That is, yeah. So they were able to under King Yanko Ekubi. After that, then they also moved to Accra. And then they defeated the Gans. So the Gans were under commission for over 27 to 30 years. Okay? When they defeated them, and then Gans have to flee from Accra all the way to where it's now called Aneho. That's where they went to keep the stool, as the Gan history will tell you.
So Akwamus are fighting Krepi and Anglon to the east. They are fighting Agona to the west. They are fighting Gan to the south. Did they ever fight Ashanti and Denchira?
No, because of the distance. So you when you want to expand your immediate surroundings, you begin to conquer those people before you can move further. And then the neighboring territory of the Akwamu, the Guans that were there, they also started conquering the Guan hills. So the hilly Guans were also conquered, and they came under the power of Akwamu.
So Akwamu at the height of his power, this is in the 1700s?
Yes. No, this is in 16 to 17.
Hundreds.
Started. So it was at this height that they had opportunity to trade directly with the Danes people at the Osu Castle. And because of that power over the Gan too, they were able to also infiltrate the Gan state. So some of their people, you can find them in the Otublohum areas, where we call the Otubrono, or that's Otus people. They are coming also from Akwamu. So that is where they settled. And then in the Osutu, the majority of them also came to settle there. So you have the Omabos, Note Omabos, and all these people from Amanokuru that also trace directly to the Osude.
I see.
So that shows you the power of Akwamu. In fact, in 1693, the famous Akwamu warrior, trader, and a royal, Asameni, was even able to use tricks and led about 80 armed men, pretending to be cooks, to overpower the governor, Jensen, and his people, and injure many of them. Jensen himself had to flee to Fort Cloverkey, and for him to rule as a governor of the Christabon Castle for a year, and even took the keys, which is now material history for the people of Akwamu today.
This is the Heritage Month, our honor series. We're looking at Eastern region, and today our focus is on the Akwamu initially. My guest, we could Akwankra. Fascinating history about the warrior-like group called the Akwamus, who were ensconced in the Yano area, originally from Adriana. The story hasn't ended because apparently they ended up in the Bono region, and we'll talk about that too. But I just wanted to clarify the Asamani issue. So Asamani wasn't actually a chief, he was a royal.
He's a royal.
And the legend is that he, for a period, conquered Christiansborg Castle in Osu.
Yeah.
You're saying at the height of Akwamu power, they were trading directly with the Danish. How long was this conquest for? And is he the guy whose statue we see when we get to the roundabout when you're driving to Atimpoku?
That is it.
That's
so
Asamani.
yes, that's Asamani. So Asamani did very well, except that over a year he gave up and negotiated with the Danes, and he was paid, and he went back. So over a year, some of the Akwamu people themselves became casualties of war to the Danes, and they were sent to U.S. Virgin Islands, where they went to rebel, and because they were royals. So when they themselves were slave raiders, selling people, and then when they found themselves as victims in U.S. Virgin Islands, which used to be called the Danish Virgin Islands, they engaged in rebellion. That sort of gave them some freedom there. So
I see. So how long did Akwamu power last, and what led to the decline of Akwamu?
So the Akwamu power lasts because of their capability, military skills, and then war expansionism, as well as skills in trading. So there were a lot of traders back in the day. They had a monopoly in when you talk about the Eastern Seaboard. They were able to capture all the way from Winneba Beach all the way to Keta.
Wow.
They were controlling that transatlantic trade with the Europeans. So this gave them a lot of money, ability to also buy ammunitions to engage in wars. So this is what gave them more powers.
Wow.
And based on this, they also engage in extrajudicial behavior, doing some things against their neighboring territories. And this will lead to a sort of animosity between them and all these.
So they
neighboring
unified
society.
the various Akan groups against them.
Yes. So over the years, not only a gang group, even with the gang groups, because of their overbearing attitude at the height of their power. And as a result of this, what we saw is that they started to bring about some sort of alliances among this Akan group. So this thing started, as you were asking me from the time, so from the period of 1650s or 1640s all the way to 1730, Akwamu was the powerhouse when it comes to the Akan group in the Gold Coast. So what happened was that when the overbearing nature reached its apogee, these ethnic groups, particularly the first people to cry about the Akwamu's overbearing attitude were the Hiliguans. So the Hiliguans invited the Ebuakwa people and then Kotoku people, King Frimpong Manso of Kotoku. So Frimpong Manso of Kotoku also called on his Fanti allies, people from the coast. So the Fantis joined, and the people even from Asan also joined. So the Asan sent the Animfahene, Moses Nana Prajinsam. So Prajinsam also led the Asan group to the area. So that is why there's a work I did for the Kushia people. I write about the Kushia people in the making of the Akwamu state and the independence of Ga and Agona states. So
it was like a war of independence.
Yes, it was a war of independence.
Akwamu was oppressing all the groups.
All the people. So they came in and then they fought. So the alliances were the Ga, some Ewe groups, the Atim groups, who were originally the people who were leading the war but needed the allies. So they came with this alliance group. And the Gas, they were fighting for their life because they have been on the Akwamu power for over 30 years and they need their independence. So they want to introduce war at Citi. So by 1730, they were able to conquer the Akwamu groups and chase them until they fled from their community at Yanawase and then crossed the river to the current place they are hiding in the Volta Hills today.
Who was Ansa Sasraku?
So Ansa Sasraku was one of the powerful chiefs. It was during this time that the war occurred. So if you look at the history of Adomabo, and Endobase who came to this war even had opportunity to take the children of Ansa Sasraku and send them to Adomabo and then marry them. One of them married Bruce. Their ancestors today are the Mensa Woods as well as UN Secretary General Kofi Annan through that line. That is why during the celebration of Kofi Annan, you saw the Akwamu people coming through Efwa and Science line of that celebration. So these were the Akwamu people.
We know that in history in school, we're told that the Akwamus helped the Ashantis defeat the Dinchira. But we're also told that eventually the Akwamus fell to the Achims, which is the war you just described, because the Achim mobilized forces. So I don't want to go into the whole Dinchira. We can do Dinchira on a separate day. But I just want to know the reason between the Akwamus and the Asantis, because we also told that Okomfuanochi was from Ewukugua, which is very close to where the Akwamus were. So not getting into all of that, what's the relationship between Akwamu power, Dinchira power, and Asante power? Were they equally powerful within a certain period, or one's rise led to another's fall?
So the rise, we will say the Dinchira, and then Akwamu, and then it interspersed within a period. But the Dinchira power, we know, came to an end by 1700s. From the 1640s to by 1697, there was a war between the Ashantis and then, I won't even call it Ashanti because I will call them the pre-Ashanti states because they were independent states like Kwaman, Mampong, Kumewu and others. So it is after the war before they become Osanti, people who have come together because of war, these independent states. So what happened was that that was the connection. So the Akwamu power merges with that of the Dinchira. And then while Akwamu was still at their power, Ashanti State also emerged to join.
Because we are told
and Ashanti outlasted Akwamu.
You were given a difference between Akwamu and Ashanti and Dintra in the sense that you were saying the Akwamu were not necessarily interested in statehood. They were more interested in conquering. They were traders, as against Ashantis who were trying to build some. What's the difference?
So when you go, you see that the Ashantis deliberately had a statecraft, and they had a lot of invention, bureaucracy, creating certain offices with intention
to last.
So you see actual state burden, which has been the blueprint that today most of the chieftaincy are taken from. So they built on what Akwamu has done, they built on what Dintra has done, and they perfected it. And
so they adopted from both sides and created.
And they also opened their doors for people from various ethnic groups to come in. And then they, under the confination, they come out with a concept called Obinchro Biase. Okay? Wherever you come from, nobody needs to show where you are coming from, just to ensure unity. It is just like the Ghana people talking about Abakuma word. Less strangers.
Which is when you go to Mensha, you see different places for different groups and all of that. I just wanted to sort of wrap up on the decline of Akwamu. So it was this war that the Achims sort of led to the defeat of the Akwamus. We do know the Akwamus helped the Ashanti against the Dintra. But what I wanted to do was to wrap up the movement, because I've heard people talk about places in BA. For example, Adjoa Eboafari wrote a book about her father. And if you read the book, she refers to the links between Doma and parts of the Akwamu state, which I'm not sure I got the full story. So you started from Eduana, Chifo, move to the east, move to the west. Asemankese, you are now in the Yano area. They become a mighty state. They are fighting everybody. At what point did the Akwamus end up in Doma?
So after the death of our ancestors, there was a dynastic war. There were two royals, twins, which was Atakra Meniampong and then Obiri Yabua. So Atakra was the senior twin and the junior twin was Obiri Yabua. So during the succession period, the Jasahine of Akwamu supported Atakra Meniampong, while Nana Nkansa, who is the queen mother, also supported Obiri Yabua. And as a result of the skirmishes, because Ancestor Sekou has chosen a successor, and as a result of this dynastic fight, the queen mother joined Obiri Yabua, that is the Doma, the beloved children, and then they move away from the, Akwamu, and then first moved to Kententrasi, which is at Insawum, and then proceeded to Obami in Kowu, and then proceeded all the way to Sontreso in Kumasi, where they got land from the chief of Amakum. Okay, Nana Amakum Akwasa, and he got the land there and they stayed there.
Wow.
So it was why they were, in fact, before they even come there, they first moved to Santimansu Esumeja, or Ashanti call it Santimansu Esumiya, where they went to. That is the cradle of Ashanti State. Most of the Ashanti people moved from Santimansu Esumiya to where they are today. So it was there they met the Wamfie people before they moved to Sontreso to go and settle. At Sontreso, they were there before the Kwaman people from Kokofu came to the area. And when they came to the area, they were given land by the Amakum people, who were Asania people. They gave land to the Oyoko people to settle on. But Amakum, the Sontreso people thought they were the Diana people, who had come from Akwamu via Santimansu Esumiya, thought that they had the land before. So one of the elderly women from Indiana went to weed on that land or tried to have a plantation there. And Otia Kenten gave her warning that that land belongs to
Otia Kenten being
the Kwaman chief, the chief of Kwaman, because that time Ashanti State has not emerged. And as a result, he killed this woman, and then if the place became Anowu, if you don't weed, you won't die. That is the name in Kumasi, Anowu. And that place is where the Kumasi castle is at now.
Wow.
So that place is called Anowu. So they were able to capture that land. And this thing hurt the Akwamu Eduana group that have come to the area. So under their chief, Nana Chairman Sukafu and others, they waged war, one of the Akwamu Eduana chief, they waged war against, how do you call it?
Otiakente.
No, then Otiakente left and Obili Yabua came.
Okay.
So within that war, that was fought at Abesim area. They were Sontresu area, Akwamus were
defeated.
Obili Yabua was killed in that war. By Ashanti oral tradition said he didn't die. He went home. His son, Nana Sabin, who is the Obili Yabua's son, took him to the house before he died there. But this was a very serious issue. So when his nephew, Opemusuo Osetutu, came to the throne, he engaged in retaliatory war, and then he went to war with the Domina people or the Doma people, and they were able to defeat the Doma in the war fought at Abesim.
So they then were forced to move up towards the Sunyani area.
Yeah, so when the war occurred, that time the chief was Chemesikafo. So Chemesikafo really became the sole washer, okay, Klegirafo of the Asantehene. And so those who remain, they have to move away because they've been defeated. So they move all the way, passed through the Abesim areas. Some went to Dama and then founded the Doma state. Others went to the German and then founded the German state.
So it's almost like full circle because they are Eduana, they are Akan. They move all the way down, spread their way, come into the Yano area, become a great empire, get defeated, move again, get into Ashanti, and eventually go back to the Bono area, which eventually is where they all came from. Because
yes,
if you ask,
the migration from the north.
So it's almost like they've completed a migratory pattern. That's quite interesting. So people from Doma are Akwamus, or no, you can't say that. You can say people from Doma are Eduana people, but they in their history is Akwamu.
Yes, so they move. So you will start the journey from Kefo Hemai, where the Eduanas originally settled, before moving to Esaman Kese, then to Denyano, where they founded their kingdom. Then from there straight to Asante Manso in Sumia, from there to Sontresu in Kumasi, then move all the way to find the Doma and the German kingdoms.
Wonderful stuff from Kweku Dakwankra. First, insight into the eastern region, trying to understand the various groups. We've learned a few things. The Akwamu became very powerful in Ghana in the late 17th century, or what was then the Gold Coast. Now we're talking the period of their decline and where they ended up. We'll thank you for watching today's episode. We'll come back with another one next time. My name is Ben Aravle. Stay with us.
Ago.